Okay, let me tell you about one of the wildest, small decision turned into millions, stories you'll ever hear. And what makes this one so good is, nobody, not even the guy at the center of it, knew he was about to stumble into one of the smartest money moves of his life. This is the real story of John Paul DeJoria, the man who went from broke, sleeping in his car, to becoming a billionaire with not one but two massive companies. But his success didn't start with a big idea. It started with rejection. Like, the kind of rejection that hits you in the chest. So picture this. John Paul grew up in a rough neighborhood. Money was always short. He took whatever jobs he could, newspaper delivery, janitor work, you name it. And even then, life wasn't cutting him any slack. When he was in his early 20s, he got married, had a kid, and then everything just fell apart. He lost his job. His wife left him. And suddenly he was living out of his car with his toddler son in the back seat. Imagine being in that position. Bills stacking up. No home. A kid depending on you. And no one helping. He could have given up, a lot of people would have, but instead he kept grinding. Any job he found, he took. Eventually, he landed in sales at a haircare company. And that job changed everything. While working there, he met Paul Mitchell, a super talented hairstylist with the kind of creative mind John Paul didn't have. And here's the crazy part. They started talking, just talking, and suddenly realized that if they combined their strengths, business and creativity, they might just have something. So they decided to launch their own haircare brand. There was just one tiny problem: neither of them had money. And when I say no money, I mean John Paul had $700 to his name, and that was only after borrowing from a friend. But he put everything into this idea. Literally everything. He and Paul Mitchell mixed product samples in a garage. They went door to door to salons trying to sell it. And, no surprise, almost everyone told them no, but here's where the story turns. One salon owner said yes. One order. One check. That was all the spark they needed. From that moment forward, John Paul drove around non-stop, pitching products with this insane level of belief. People say he would walk into a salon like he already knew the answer was yes. That confidence was contagious. Soon, John Paul Mitchell's systems exploded. They hit $1 million in sales, then $10 million, then hundreds of millions. And guess what? The company still isn't publicly traded. Still no outside investors. Still private. John Paul owns the majority. But here's the twist people forget: this wasn't his only billion-dollar move. Years later, he co-founded Patron Tequila. Back then, tequila wasn't premium, it wasn't cool. Nobody was talking about smooth tequila. People literally laughed at the idea of a high-end tequila brand. But John Paul trusted his instincts again. He invested. He pushed. He built the brand from the ground up. And many years later, he sold Patron for $5.1 billion. That's the part that makes this story unbelievable. A guy who once slept in his car, a guy who had $700 to his name, a guy everyone counted out, ended up building two massive brands that changed entire industries. And here's what I personally love the most about his story. John Paul constantly says the reason he treats employees well, gives back, donates, and supports people is because he never forgot what it felt like to have nothing. He always says, success unshared is failure. That's a man who earned every dollar the hard way. It's crazy how life works. Sometimes the people with the least end up building the most. Sometimes the ideas nobody believes in become the ones that rewrite history. And sometimes the lowest point of your life becomes the beginning of your next chapter. If you like real stories like this, stories that show how people turn setbacks into success, make sure you like the video and subscribe right now. And hey, drop a comment too. I want to know which part of this story hit you the most. Because trust me, the next one I'm dropping, you don't want to miss it.